Everybody, welcome back. I'm Abby Hagyar. This is my tiny, tiny corner of the world, my little office. I'm just going to click this thingy that says, "Hi, everyone, welcome back." So, I'm just, oh, no, it is 10 o'clock. All right. So, happy Shoes Day. Happy Shoes Day for all the right reasons. Cheers. I just took it out of the microwave, so it's really hot. And I want to tell you an interesting thing that happened this weekend. I just got a thing that said I'm live and streaming. Yes. All right. So this interesting thing happened on the weekend. I decided to reach out to a lot of groups on LinkedIn after I had done my surprise ABCAST Sunday special, pointing my conversation to this amazing agency in Toronto called Speaker Spotlight. And I went on, I came on here and I did, I think, 5 or 6 minutes explaining why I want to be considered as a speaker for this incredible agency. They're the top in Canada. And I looked through the roster and I thought, no, I belong there. I belong there. I'm that kind of celebrity. And so but I didn't have a recent reel because kind of busy coming back from the beyond and publishing books and doing events and writing and coaching. And so had I done a recent event? Well, yes, I just did one. Did we shoot it? No. I have 7,000 photographs though. Would you like to see those? And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to break with tradition. I'm going to do something and I'm going to send it to them. And I'm going to do a one page that they ask for, but I'm going to do it differently, which I did. And I've posted everything on Facebook and everything on LinkedIn where people can check it out. And then I went back this morning and I went into LinkedIn and I looked at the smaller groups. I looked at the local groups and I thought, you know, I'm missing a bet here. I'm targeting the big groups because I'm thinking, you know, mass reach. But I got to tell you, I posted this morning, this update, and this is who I am, and this is what I did. And I had out of a potential, doesn't sound small, but you know, when there's a couple of groups that have 1 million members and you look at a group that has 12,000, you think, oh, that's small, but it isn't. So anyway, I did that this morning and I've had over 300 looks. 300 looks. Wow. So I thought before I start today's story, concept, question, answer, I wanted to remind us all that what we're looking for is not the biggest. What we're looking for is the most likely to connect, the most likely to say, oh, that's for me. We need to go back to the thing I used to do in Market Centrics, which is find out what they want and give it to them. If the big groups don't want me, then go for the groups that do. And good morning, Charles. How wonderful to see you. So my conversation today is, have you seen the pebble in the pond? And the reason it's not the same as have you seen the Muffin Man, although it's not wrong. Have you seen the pebble in the pond is the question that somebody asks when we're standing, you know, in a clearing in the woods and there's a small pond and there are ripples. And so we're looking around to see what might have dislodged something. The pebble, it goes boonk, and then the pond goes like this. It also, when it goes boonk, you get little splash effects from the little pebble, boonk. And then you don't just get the one series of ripples, you get cross effects, you get a cross hatching of ripples. And that creates turbulence, that creates activity, that creates curiosity, that creates awareness, that creates response, reaction, interest. And when we don't see the ripple, when we see the ripple, but we don't see the pebble, we can get sidetracked into looking for the pebble. We can get sidetracked and forget our purpose. Something very big happened to somebody very close to me not that long ago. And it's happened to all of us, but this is the most recent. And I want to talk about it. So for no reason that anybody has been able to comprehend, and many people have been talking about this, a huge number, really. is that a friend of mine got terminated suddenly with no warning, and there was no explanation. The piece of paper received said without cause. And it was utter confusion because there was no reason for it. So after that, that was a large stone, bonk, and hundreds of people were impacted by it. And just yesterday, I found myself talking to somebody who said, I've been going over it in my mind and I can't understand why. Now, by this time, it's over a month ago. It's a month ago. Actually, it's just a month ago. And I said, out of nowhere, I said this, and then I came away and I thought, that is what I need to talk about. That is part of why we get caught up and we get distracted and things aren't working. I said to this great person, I want to ask you a question. If you were out walking and you got bitten by a snake and you realized the snake was poisonous, would you spend time wondering why it bit you, or would you go and get help? And he said, obviously I'd go and get help. And I said, okay, then why are you still having the conversation about the snake that just bit this person? We don't care why they bit him. We care what we do about it. We care about our next steps because life goes on. And if we spend all our time looking back at that thing that happened, that set us adrift, that caused confusion, that created a great deal of did that keep us spinning our wheels? Yes, it did. Well, when it happened, I was invited to be part of the conversation. And I, in my characteristically demure way, said, well, we don't care why. We care what we do. We care what you do. And then it was pedal to the metal, boots on the ground. And the issue was resolved to great satisfaction that had nothing to do with what happened before and everything to do with what happens, what can happen, what will happen, what is happening next. We initiated move forward. We initiated shift gears. We initiated pivotry in motion. We initiated, I'm walking here. And all these other people who I have subsequently run into are still way back there, way, way, way back in the distance. None of them have shifted out of that gear. None of them are facing forward. None of them are getting on with what matters. Why not? It's natural, primal response. Make sure we know what the danger is so we see it again. Make sure that it doesn't bite us again. Okay, but if it's poisonous and we don't deal with it, we're dead. So the conversation, have you seen the pebble in the pond, is did you see it? Did you see it drop? Did you see it cause these ripples? Or do we assume that's what it was? Let's say for the sake of argument, that isn't what it was. Let's say for the sake of argument, there's something under the surface of the water. I mean, you're out there, you test the wind, you're in a small clearing, there's no breeze, test the wind, none. Okay, bird flapping in the trees, squirrel flapping somewhere, action, movement, noises, nothing. So if it's not a pebble that got dislodged, good morning, Daniel. Guten Tag and bonjour. So if it is not a pebble, then it's beneath the surface. Then if it's not the poisonous snake itself, but something motivating the snake. And again, we don't care. We don't care unless we want to try and avoid it the next time. Okay, but in the meantime, fix the problem. Fix the problem, cure the poison, move forward. So what is under the surface? What is under the surface making motions, stirring things up? like before we go and put our foot in the pond, what's under there? What is lurking? What is unresolved stuff that we have in the back of our heads that we don't realize is a connected link from a story we thought we heard that we've carried forward with us? What is the story we think was true? What is the story we still follow? We still believe? What is the story that limits us? What is the story that holds us hostage? I was having a wonderful, wonderful message conversation with a very talented, very insightful coach based in Ottawa the other day. We haven't met face to face. As, however, I am reading his posts and he is reading mine, we are discovering that our career paths have certainly developed a similar trajectory. And he started posting about the origins of his desire to change and affect and empower and inspire growth and new directions with people. And it turns out that there's a lot similar. So I want to talk about that right now too, because the pebble in the pond does not have to be a recent drop. The pebble in the pond can trigger for years and years in unconscious, repeated behavior that we don't see the origin of anymore, that we don't automatically and logically say 2 + 2. Oh, wait, 2 + 2. Well, isn't that interesting? And it hits us out of the blue. When you see a conversation, when you're having one with someone, and you have always wondered why they do a particular thing, it's neither good nor bad, it's just curiosity. And then they say something random, just in response to a laugh, and you say, oh, look, there's the link. There's the pebble in the pond. That explains the ripples. That explains the pattern that I can now see coming, that I can now predict. And so my conversation with you today is all about shifts in direction. Because for someone like me, who was on a very clear trajectory for quite a while, quite a long while, when I did that one page detailing what I'd done and what the critics had said, and I looked at it and I thought, well, no wonder I haven't gone on holiday. I haven't even had time to find my suitcase, let alone pack. And it's not that I'm working hard, it's that I'm doing what I love. I'm creating and I'm connecting and I'm communicating and I'm nudging and triggering transformation. And that's how we all keep going. So the question is this: when you find yourself doing something and you go, I always do that, it's not a bad thing to wonder why, especially if it doesn't make any sense. Especially if somebody comments on it, says, why do you always do that? I don't know, I've always done it. Really? Well, you didn't always do it forever. At some point, something caused you to do it the first time, and you got the kind of response that made you say, I'm going to do that again. When I was talking with Gary, my producer, the other day, and I said, we need to start writing. We need to start writing fresh bullet points for these new shows we're doing. We need to change it up. And he said, I haven't written anything of substance in a while. And I said, well, you have been busy. We have been busy. But just because you're busy doesn't mean you can't open that notebook and jot things down from time to time. And he said, I got out of the habit. And I said, well, if you were in it, you can get back in it. And he laughed and he said, yeah, you're right. I'm stalling. Thanks. And we all stall. We all say, yeah, that's that thing that I do. One of these days I'm going to have to look at it because it doesn't really make any sense. Well, if it doesn't make any sense, why are you doing it? You only have 24 hours in a day, and some of them you're sleeping. Why would you invest time in something that doesn't move you forward? So the pebble in the pond is our hook today. The story that happened to me that was my pebble in the pond was a year ago now-ish. And I was talking to one of my clients, and she said, you always wrap things up at the end of one of our sessions, like you're never going to have a chance to talk to me again. And I said, I know, right? And she said, why do you do that? We're scheduled for like a few days from now. Why do you do that? And I said, well, I do it because in the military, as a military child, I was never sure until I actually got home from school and there were no boxes in the living room that we wouldn't be moving tomorrow. Because far too often I would come home and, you know, I was a week away from starring in the school play. I'd come home and there's boxes in the living room. And I'd look at it and I'd say, somebody else is going to be starring in the play. And it was devastating. I should have said hello to that cute boy. It's too late now. We're leaving. And so from those early days, I have always done my very best, not always, but the best I can, to make sure that I wrap things up in a way that people aren't left hanging, in a way that people know they got the full story, they got the full toolbox, they got the full set of instructions on what to do next. And I don't say, in case we never do this again. It doesn't occur to me that that's why I'm doing it. I just like to wrap things up neatly. But she had reminded me. She had reminded me why. And then she said the most interesting thing that stopped me in my tracks. She said, how many years ago were you a child in the military? And I laughed and I said, and I realized that I had not been a child in the military since I was a teenager. Since I was a teenager. And yet, I have done that action. I have created that technique that I had created as a teenager so that I didn't let anybody down. And I had never stopped doing it. It was my invisible pebble. And every time I was walking away, I saw it. I picked it up and I dropped it in the pond without knowing it. It was that part of my brain saying, don't forget the pebble. And it never occurred to me that this was an unconscious habit that I had developed, and there had been no reason for me to change it. Good morning, Freddie. Wonderful to see you. There had been no conscious decision to stop. It had become a natural part of everything I do when I connect to people. I make sure I don't leave them hanging as best I can. I make sure they have all the information and skills and training I can deliver that they can move forward. A lot of the motivators that you see, a lot of the programs that you sign up for, a lot of the campaigns, a lot of the do this and do that, they leave you hanging on purpose. They leave you hanging so you'll sign up again. They leave you hanging so you'll re-enlist, resubscribe, because that's the way the money keeps coming in. I don't do that. I give you absolutely 100% the full thing you need to know so that you are not held hostage to me. That if you wish to reach out to me, it's because you decide. It's because you want to say hi. It's because you're curious and you want to know what else is going on. And is there something we can do that moves you forward, that moves us forward? I want the controls, the power, the keys to the bus, when it's your bus, to be in your hands. I can only drive my bus. I can't drive all the buses. So I was not aware of that pebble. I was not aware that I was carrying it around invisibly in my shoe. I was not aware that it was part of my reaction from long ago. I was talking to a really, really good friend of mine the other day about something that she had learned as a child. And she said it just randomly. Well, of course, something, something, something. And I said, well, that's not true. And she said, what are you talking about? Of course it is. And I said, well, no, it isn't. Would you like me to lend you my mirror and look at it? You are not the poster child for that thing you just said. That's not relevant to you. And she said, oh my God, no, it isn't. And I said, well, what are you doing? She said, I don't know. I've just always said it. I've always thought it. I've always felt it. I've always acted on it. And I said, yes, okay, it isn't you though. So you're walking in somebody else's shoes, somebody else's opinion, somebody else's belief that might or might not be true, but it isn't true of you. And she said, you're right. How do I fix that? And I said, remind yourself. Remind yourself. Get a code word. When you hear yourself say it, when somebody says, oh my God, that's so true, try and hear yourself, because it isn't true for you. You're not that poster child. And when I'm talking to people and I'm hearing me say things like that, I think, yeah, but I do it too. And then I thought, okay, this is the second part of this thing that I'm saying to you. When the stone drops, boink, and it creates the ripple effect, the splashes also create ripple effects, right? Boink, sploosh, ripple, 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 ripple. We don't have to navigate any of those. It's not our pebble. Put it down. Don't rock your own boat unnecessarily. Don't fling it in so it goes kersploosh and then you're all over the place. Especially don't do it if the only reason you saw it happen was that somebody did it in front of you. Don't do what they do simply because they do it. Don't be the poisonous snake simply because one bit you. You're not a poisonous snake. You're a snake. You're not a poisonous snake. You are you, not that. We don't need to carry that poison forward and infect other people, inflict it on other people. The toxin stops here. We go get a cure. We move forward. The pebble is not ours to own. It's not ours to throw. And once the ripples subside, it's much easier to get in our boat and row, right? It's easier. It's easier if we let go of the unhelpful stalling tactics. It's easier on us, on everyone, on every exciting thing, waiting for the door to open, if we face the door and stop looking over our shoulder. One of the hardest things that I deal with in my life, I'm going to tell you how we do it. I know I haven't told you how yet. One of the hardest things that I have dealt with in my life is the anticipation window of time before the move begins. When you have to move, you know you have to pack, you get packed. You drag your feet a bit because you don't want to, but then you have to kick into gear and you pack. And then the boxes are all there waiting. And then you realize that you have 3 days. What do you do with yourself? What on earth do you do with yourself? When there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go, you can't unpack anything, you have to just wait? No. If you have a notebook, if you have a way of writing things down, write letters to yourself, write notes to yourself, not about the move, not about the anticipation, write about something else. Write about something else that you want to talk to people about. Make a list of things you want to do once you're unpacked. Give yourself permission to go and stand outside, go for a walk, make something to eat, even though you feel like your feet are stuck, even though you feel like your brain is stuck, even though you have that I would get this clenched feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I've subsequently discovered it's called functional freeze. There's, when you look at the way people talk about our reactions when we're yes, moving the conversation forward, exactly, Freddie. When we're in fight or flight, freeze or hide, those are all the extreme reactions when we feel helpless, when we feel like we don't have control, and we desperately crave control. So in the fight or flight, freeze or hide, under freeze, there is this behavior that doctors, therapists, scientists have noticed, and it's called functional freeze. You actually keep doing things because you have to. You have to show up for work. You have to show up to get in the shower. You have to show up and feed the kids, but you're on autopilot. You're going through the motions. And the reason you are going through the motions is because you are in a state of fear. You are in a state of uncertainty. And so you are in freeze. You don't want the danger to see you. So you're trying to remain hidden. And what you are making are very small motions. You hope that nobody sees in order to keep going. You're breathing, but you're breathing shallow from here. You're eating, but you're eating very small amounts. You're sleeping, but you're not sleeping well. You're in a constant state of dread alert, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's not helpful. That slows every capability that you have down to the bare minimum. And then when everything is the all clear, it takes you a while to get your momentum back because you can't believe you're safe. So in times like that, how you get through it is reaching out, even though that's almost impossible. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything beyond pick up a device, pick up something, tap on a neighbor's door. Give yourself permission to make that physical move, to make that decision that your wheels are stuck in mud. That's all it is. And the last time your wheels were stuck in mud, you borrowed a piece of cardboard and you stuck it under your wheel, and the neighbor helped you push out. A friend helped you push out. A stranger helped you push out. We are not meant to fix this alone. That's why we gravitate to tribes. The tendency is to shut down and be alone because it feels like too much work to connect to the outside. That's the reverse of what we need to do. So always remember, if you have to write it on a Post-it note, the name of the person who is always there for you. Write that name down. Look at it. Remember that, because as much as you need them, they need to be needed by you. They are part of your life for that reason. You are in their life, they are in your life. You are the life boy, you are the helping hand, you are the end of the rope that they reach for, and they are the same for you. We all have one of those. When you are feeling like the pebble has dropped and you're stuck, the how is to reach out. If you don't feel you have anyone close to you, reach out to someone virtually. Reach out to the person who is always there. because the best moment in their day or night is when they hear from you. You are not a burden. You are a partner. And it doesn't matter how many times this partner or person says, ask me, call me. Here I am. No matter how many times they reach out, the connection is a two-way thing. They can't do it for you. They are there to do it with you. That you need to do something is why they're there for you, is why they're there with you. So if the pebble is lodged in your shoe, if the pebble and the ripples are causing you problems, if you are in functional freeze, waiting for the moment, there are solutions right beside you. It's a Pivotry in motion moment to turn your head and see it. And I know it's exhausting. I know it's confusing. These are the ripple effect waves that we navigate together. So when that happened, when my client said, how long ago? When was the last time you were a child of the military? When was the last time you had to be prepared that way? And I said, it was a couple of minutes. And she said, well, I want to tell you, I'm grateful that you keep doing it because it always makes me feel secure. It always makes me feel that a meeting with you is a sanctuary space, that I am seen and heard and valued when you do those wrap-ups, because I know you are invested in my future and my success. And that was awesome too. So when we do that thing we do, when the poisonous snake bites us, is appreciated by more people than we realize. When we move forward, when we take action, when we take care of self so that we can take care of others, it is appreciated. It is valued. It is essential. It transforms. So whatever might be beneath the surface, whatever you've seen yourself do again, the question is it helping? Is it slowing you down? Or is it a stalling tactic? And if you need a conversation about that, here I am. You know where to find me. So I'm going to cut this short today. I know it's only 32 minutes. Hard to believe, but on Sunday, I only spoke for 5.5 minutes. So it is within my grasp. I'm going to cut it short today because there are a couple of things that I'm on tap to do, and I want to be ready when the call comes. So before I go, I want to tell you that I'm going to be back on Thursday, obviously. I'm going to tell you that the reason I posted the video on Sunday, the reason I posted the print on my Facebook page and shared it on the other groups to so many of you, is that I am actively looking for connections to groups and organizations that need a speaker, that are interested in hearing from someone with a strong nostalgia background, something that they connect to, someone who can talk about life and transformation. So whatever it is that you do, whoever you belong to, whatever groups you are with, I know Charles, for example, you belong to a social group agency that helps people. If they ever do virtual, I would be thrilled to speak. It means I would be able to reach out to people around the world without leaving my little tiny corner of the world. And that's what the internet is for. So keep that in mind. If there is anybody among you, Daniel, your groups in Montreal who talk about the FanCon events, who talk about the power of being in a group, I am delighted if they ever want a speaker. And my fees are on a sliding scale. If you also in your work life belong to organizations, to groups, I know, for instance, that your partner in crime, Alain, he works with a large organization. I would be more than happy to connect with that organization upon a reference from either of you, so that I could speak to those people in their workplace about their issues in their personal lives that are impacting their career lives, I would be more than happy to do that. So anybody out there who is watching me, wherever you work, whoever you know, whatever neighbors or friends you have who are saying, boy, you know, the atmosphere, the morale at work is really down, tell them you know somebody. You know the ultimate mom who can get people back on track, because I want this to start happening. Marnie, I'll be great. Have the whole world on a plate. I seriously hope so. A quick just got home from work. Eddie, talk to your people. Tell them that you know a motivator whose picture is in the dictionary under motivation, and I can do virtual talks. All right, my loves, I'm going to sign off for today. I am ready to be hitting the ground running in September when people are ready to hear something that galvanizes and motivates them out of stalling and into let's do this. I'm walking here. So until I talk to you Thursday, keep your thinking caps on. Be good to you. Stop beating yourself up. We have enough poisonous snakes out there. You don't need to help them. And remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve it too. Thank you for watching. You are the reason this works. Episode 379 is all because of you.